plane rumbles and creaks, the screen on the video terminal going wonky from the washes of forces. It felt like the plane had hit something mid-air. Panic sets in. Richard returns to the window, hoping to gain some calming insight, but is met with horror. Blackness washes over his vision as his body jars, lurching forward, folding into the seat in front of him. Final slam is his last memory before his mind misfires and escapes. A pounding headache and a ringing is echoing inside his mind as he regains his blurred vision. Fully standing, outstretching his arms, he now notices the body of a stewardess, an axe in her back. He hears rustling behind him and quickly turns to see a man covered in blood. Had he done this to the stewardess? This strange man ended her life, perhaps? Scouring the rows of seats, him and the man reach a point of impasse, blocking each other's path. Both of them grunting as they squeeze past the strangers' bodies, putting his own agenda higher than the social interaction. Gathered his last few items. Richard thought in his head maybe an introduction would go a long way, as he watches the man chop into the dead stewardess' creepy cadaver. Richard's mind rushed to an answer that he had killed the stewardess, his anger released onto her body after. Richard shambles to collect supplies from the luggage, cracking them open with the axe. He can hear the other man doing the same. The cold wind blowing through the bent trees made Richard think how useful these extra scraps of clothing could be. The snaps and clicks of the breaking locks overwhelmed Richard with sadness. As much as these items were simply necessary for survival, they were also people's belongings. "Oi mate, there's a boat out here. You reckon we can use it to get out of here?" The man, hulking out like some sort of abomination, a zombie. Richard's thoughts of Vile couldn't leave him.
Yeah, that ain't gonna do us any good. That's a shipwreck, and there's not a single island in sight.
But what about this radio? Maybe we can use that, mate. This man's faceless expression set fear into Richard's spine.
That's a short range. I know that no one coming for us on that. But if I find one in a sooty, I could keep in touch with you if you get far away.
They walked back away from the cliff. Richard had thought their first discussion went well. Maybe he wasn't so bad. He didn't kill him. Still, when the man swung his axe on the bone of the suitcase, it made him jump. Richard continued gathering sticks. He told himself in survival situations you need everything till help arrives. Behind the bushes sat the moth, the plain carcass layered with sharp steel shrapnel teeth. He looked about the forest. An eerie feeling of being watched from the distant bushes brushed him with the feeling of fright. Well, you ever feel like something's watching you? Like I just got this feeling like eyes are just crawling all over me.
We were just in a bloody plane crash, mate. You're probably just in shock.
Yeah, you're probably right. You reckon we should set up around the plane? We pile up some rock walls around it, get a fire going. Maybe we can stay here until we get rescued. I'm sure they come looking for the plane. The man didn't reply to him in any way. He wasn't sure if it was a good idea anymore. It felt right, though. More importantly, the plane felt familiar. He had heard the other men grumble and walk away, but as Richard walked to go grab some supplies for his small shelter and fire, he had heard the men completing the construction behind him. A little bit of relief came over Richard as the thought they could work together even a little bit helped ease his mind. He collected more sticks and used them to sharpen up one long one he had found and formed it into a spear. They needed food, and Richard thought a spear could be a good answer for a quick meal. Almost in the same second of him finishing it, he looked out in front of him. Both him and the stranger stopped still as a deer stood in the short distance. Just like in high school javelin practice, he held the spear over his shoulder and launched it with all his strength, another spear whipping by just after his, the deer fallen to the ground. Richard never wanted to kill anything, but in this case he knew he had to seize the opportunity in front of him. The next step was to skin it, and Richard could feel tears welling up in his eyes.
Ah, nice throw. Struck it right in the back.
Yeah, thanks. This deer wouldn't be returning to its family, just like all the other missing passengers. Maybe him. He walked away, that feeling of being watched, and grabs his thought. Immediately he moved to the plane, a safe space in his head. He wanted to build a small shelter inside, but many attempts to do so led to failure. He didn't want to be out in the open. He didn't like this constant paranoia of being watched. But seemingly he didn't have another choice. It was impossible to set up his structure inside the plane as he had hoped. He went back, looking out the front. He had to go back into the elements. He decided outside would have to suffice. Being as close as he possibly could to the plane is where he decided to set up. He ran out to grab more sticks to help finish his shelter. The looming presence of persistent paranoia stands in Richard's back. The weight of it pushing him down, hurting his back. He could feel this, watching, something observing him. He tried to ignore it. Perhaps it was just the other man, but it made him feel uneasy. He thought back to that stewardess body. Maybe this man was hunting him. He had saw him at the back of the plane. He was certain that this is where that feeling of paranoia had come from. That he was watching him. This made Richard feel so uncertain of his survival here. That not only was the plane crash the enemy, but this man. That thought made him paranoid. Not the fact that they were in shock like the strange man had said. Richard started laying out some plans to build rock walls around the front, windbreakers to help a fire going. In reality, thought how he wanted a wall to keep him from the man sleeping at the back of the plane. He's startled and turns around. 2 crows fly away from the scene, his heart stampeding like a steam train. He goes back, trying to construct his wall made of stones. Something was serene about collecting the stones, building the walls. He definitely had not made it to Hong Kong. The deep, brilliant light shines upon a beautiful, serene forest. He did recognize it though. Canada. He had seen similar scans of glamour on the flight path before. This though filled Richard's mind again as he cracked open the hard shell. Where did the rest of the passengers even go? Maybe most of them were sucked out during the crash. Maybe they were survivors. He saw the other men starting to chop large trees down. He could hear the crackling in the distance, followed by the slam of a large wood shifting his sails with its huge smash. He collected more stones and other supplies for various things they needed to do. Many rocks had been uprooted by the plane's arrival. Again, that paranoid feeling arose, but Richard found the man nearing him. He quickly rested the feeling, knowing for sure this is the source of his paranoia. Another crackling tree falling to his smash.
Hey, you stay away from me. Just stay back.
He heard the man's voice calling out, and he ran to him. As he approached, he saw a person, slightly hunched over, walking just where the tree's carcasses were. The female's screech startled him. Maybe it was these people watching him, not the man generating the paranoia. Something felt off about these people. They looked dirty and feral.
Buddy, get up here on the plane. Jump up my little shelter.
Richard didn't hesitate to follow the command.
Yeah, just get up here right quick, mate.
The man was standing on the wing above him. He had his spear out and was seemingly watching over him like an angel as Richard got up. Maybe this man wasn't as bad as he thought. Mate, did you see that guy? He's got a stick in his hand or something.
Yeah, I saw him, mate. He ran at me when I was getting up here. I don't think these people are that friendly.
Well, we gotta try and talk to him, mate. This might be our only way out of here. Alright, good day, mate. We just crashed here in this plane. Just wondering if you know the way off of here, or if you can contact somebody, if you got a mobile we can use, maybe. Their gurgling and grunting reply didn't pay much to the thought that they could help them.
I think there's some sort of tribal people, like natives to this place.
Mate, we were flying over Canada when the plane went down. These defo aren't the indigenous peoples.
Well, what the hell are they then? They run on all fours like bloody dogs.
Yeah, I don't know, mate. I'm not sure. Excuse me back there. Can you help us, please? Crying wails turn into hits as Richard watches them slam their hands into the planes trying to reach them. Bloody get the hell away from us. He tries to poke and prod at them, hoping it pushes them to leave. He watches the creature run away, sprinting back and leaping, trying to hit his fellow passenger. He finds his stabs getting more aggressive.
Get the hell out of here, you muddy little prick.
Yeah, we said get the bloody hell away from us. He threw his spear, not with the intent to kill, but hoping it would scare them away. But it had little effect. As he crafted another spear of sticks in his bag, he found little mini bottles of alcohol. He thought of a way to really scare them. Oi, drop kick, I'm gonna throw this at you if you don't go away. The flickering flame from his found lighter seems to last an eternity as it dances, the sweat in his hand drenching the outside. His heart thumping in his chest, he is met with a moral dilemma. This is a survival situation, and these animals are trying to take his life. His body reacts and he throws the corrupting cocktail as the glass smashes on the ground, flipping flames spiraling outwards. The mud and muck-covered woman walked out and over it, catching a blaze. The siren's screams strike Richard's morality. He just wanted to scare her, not catch her on fire.
We said get the hell out of here, you bastards.
His fellow passenger jumped from the plane. Richard chased one. That's right, you better keep running. Turning back, he saw the burnt creation he had made attacking his friend. His body, controlled by instinct, attacked, stabbing and mauling this creature. His friend helping from behind. Richard tried to go back to building the walls. Not only did he need them, but he needed the distraction.
I'm gonna go look for another one.
You might. I'm just gonna keep working on these walls. Yeah. He could feel his heart slamming in his chest. What had he done? He had just killed somebody in cold blood. Richard saw the man up on the plane out of the corner of his eye. A squirrel scared Richard, and he instinctively stabbed at it.
Alright, he's out in the woods in front of the plane. It's running in.
Richard combated it directly, stabbing at it over and over again. He saw his winged savior float down from the plane and assist in stabbing the mauling creature from behind. The creature managed to swing out there, smashing Richard on the head with a stick, blood pouring over his eyes. He watched as the man continued the assault of stabbing wounds. Regaining his clear vision, Richard joined the fight to help finish the creature.
It's alright, mate. It's always hard the first time. You did what you had to do to survive. If we hadn't done it to them, they surely would have had it done it to us. Let's give them a proper off and throw them on the fire.
That thought of burning them was surreal. Not only did they just kill them, but now burn them. Eliminating the threat, he finally let out a breath of relief. What had he done? People were dead because of him. They could have been two hunters from a nearby village. Maybe they were undiscovered people. Again, tears welled up in his eyes. The thoughts were so overwhelming, his moral compass was spinning in every direction but north. Burning the bodies bothered Richard's heart. Something about it made him feel like he was no better. He distracted himself by working on things around his new base camp, his new tribal camp. Was that what he was now? Reduced to a feral early human like a Homo sapien or a Neanderthal? No, surely he was pushed into making his moral compass face the direction of its new path. It was his knowledge that made him modern. This was no different than war, no different than combats against other humans. In all his confusion on where he now sat in the scales of cultural evolution, he knew one thing was factual. That these people on the other side of the world weren't alone. There was no way it was just the two of them living out.
I see the way you're looking after burning them. It's a traditional method of passing to the afterlife for bold warriors.
They had to prepare for more, and never mind more aggressive attacks against them. The sun was setting. The sky's darkening tones struck a nerve in Richard's mind. These people were creatures that had attacked him. They did so in the day's illumination. With darkness's shroud approaching, he wondered if the attacks would push through the evening. He wanted to try and complete the work around his camp, increase their defenses as much as possible, in case they needed to ward off more attacks. There wasn't much time. His heart's beginning to beat, the pace of the rush of his mind. He wondered when the next assault would be launched against them, if he had time to complete what he was working on, or if it would be at a surprise moment. Maybe those walls wouldn't be for a previous thought foe, but this new threat. And maybe that old enemy was now an ally. Maybe it was time for an introduction as a treaty of alliance. Mate, I don't think we ever formally met, but my name's Richard. I just wanted to say hello formally.
Nice, Sal. Pleasure.
Alright, Sal. Looks like you and I are going to be working together for a while here, eh?
Yeah, I got you back, as long as you got mine.
Bloody oath, mate. As far as treaties went, this wasn't the most formal or official, but it eased Richard's mind. He did feel like Sal had his back, and thinking to when he protected him as he got on the plane, or when that creature attacked him, he knew he was on his side before this alliance. No matter what he thought of Sal when they first crashed, or what he could have done before the flight, it didn't matter now. Who they were started from when they walked out of that plane. Now he was his only friend and his only ally in this lost forest. It was so dark, the fire being their only source of the light. The moon barely brightening the grass fields and dim forest. Richard didn't go far from the flaming warden. Oi mate, I put some of that deer meat on the fire. It's gonna cook up nice and good. You just come grab some as soon as you're ready, alright mate?
Hey mate, I'll be right there.
He stuck close till the meat was done. He could feel the hunger gnawing at him. He watched closely to make sure the meat was well cooked. The last thing he needed to do was make himself and his partner sick. Oi mate, the meat's done. Come grab a bit while it's still warm. We don't want to burn it.
It's pretty bloody delicious, mate.
It scared Richard to be out in the darkness. He could hear his thumping heart as he stepped out into the void. He made the choice to set out some standing torches, hoping they could ease his thoughts of the distant dark. It would help push back this dark canopy the ferals could be hiding in, giving them some sort of warning on their arrival. The situation was finally settling in on Richard's mind. This just wasn't surviving a plane crash. This was surviving a war with a plane crash being the catalyst. He felt like he was in hostile territory. Dropped in behind enemy lines, he felt truly in the thick of the mess. He found himself staring out into the darkness, the lit standing torches illuminating the grass plains. He still watched in fear, just as if something could jump out of the dark forest at any second, taking them in a talk of a clock. Setting up the last guardian of fire, he had felt warmth. Something surrounding his secluded little camp with protection and sovereignty in these strange lands. He and this newfound friend were ready to make it off these desolate lands alive. Richard, in all his delirious fear, found himself finally reaching a point of normality. And as he did, he found the lids of his eyes trying to seal shut like a jar. His mind rushing with fear of sleeping could not outweigh his body's exertion. He knew he needed to rest. If not, the long nights would drive him to anxiety and exhaustion, even more than he felt now. With the weight of the world hanging on his wincing eyes, he decided to sleep. Aye, mate. As crazy as it sounds, we should get some sleep. The more nights we stay out, the worse we're gonna be. It's also cold here, up in Canada, so thinking we should probably share a hut. Might help us keep some of our body heat.
You're right, mate. But no touchy-feely, eh? We wouldn't have to sleep if we had some stimulants.
He already thought Sal had lost more of his mind than himself. He just listened to Sal laughing to himself and didn't reply. With the lit fire keeping watch, he headed to his hut. He hoped the few flaming guards would be enough to get him a few hours of sleep. Another day awaited them both in the morning, and he knew it wasn't going to be as easy as today was. Hello everyone, welcome and thank you for watching the first episode of the Forest Story series following Richard. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a like, and if you want to be kept up to date with our other series as well as this one, please subscribe, hit the bell icon as well. Lastly, leave me a comment below about what you think of Sal. Thank you again, and I hope to see you all next time.